Hello from Jharkhand's capital, Ranchi. This is 3D, the Development Design Digest, where we take a deep dive into rural development and the multi-dimensional design approach to trying to help end the scourge of intergenerational poverty. Today, in the beautiful and developing state of Jharkhand, I'm very happy to be joined by Harishwar Dayal, a member of the 5th State Financing Commission, and also an economist with over 30 years in research and education. Mr. Dayal, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Lindy.
You know, I feel like Jharkhand is one of India's best kept secrets. It's a very fertile green state. It also has so many rich resources and a very rich heritage of tribal people too. And yet, I wonder, is it actually part of the India growth story? We all know India's progressing. Is Jharkhand part of that progress?
Yeah, along with India, Jharkhand is also progressing, but yeah, we are way behind many other states. In fact, in terms of per capita income, we are third from the bottom. So there are problems, but most of these problems are historical in nature. Many of these problems, poverty, underdevelopment, etc., we inherited it from the past.
Why do you think that is? Was that the colonial past, or was that just the location of where Jharkhand is?
Not exactly the colonial past, but we were part of a state which itself is a very backward state, Bihar. So we were part of Bihar, and in fact we were marginalized there, and that was the reason why this state was in demand and was separated from Bihar. So basically the legacy from Bihar.
Yeah. So what do you think are the major challenges stopping Jharkhand from reaching its full potential today? We know what it was in the past, but what about today?
The state has started doing some good work, but there were a few problems. You told about resource, but resources here, definitely the state is a resource-rich state, but the state has suffered from resource curse also. So the natural resources we have failed to take benefit, or the local people here have failed to take benefit from the resources available here, especially minerals, but they have suffered because of the pollution created by them, the health hazard created by them. You must have heard about Jadugoda uranium mining. A large number of people there are suffering from different disease because of the uranium mining. So there are problems. The environmental damage caused by coal mining as well as iron mining. So these are the problems we and the people of Jharkhand, they are experiencing.
Well, I want to talk about that a bit, because we know that climate change is hitting people all over the world.
Yeah.
Rural people really will suffer a lot of the brunt of the problems faced by that. Jharkhand, for some 70 years, when coal was discovered here, it's so resource rich. But it has quite a traumatic past with its coal mining, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And just as things have started to settle down, and there's a little bit of calm on that front, arguably, it's all about to change again. Because as India tries to wean itself off coal in the next 10, 15 years, there's going to be new upheaval. So how does Jharkhand ensure that that is a just and fair transition?
Yeah, we in fact are committed for this just transition, just and fair transition, and definitely livelihood of some of the people will be affected. The royalty we get from the coal mining will be reduced, but we'll make some changes there because there are ill effects of coal mining also. So that will definitely be taken care of.
Now, I want to talk about that for a minute, because you mentioned some of the funds that Jharkhand receives from mining.
Yeah.
Arguably, maybe it doesn't receive as much as it should, but that's a different podcast for another day. But Jharkhand is one of the recipients of Article 275. Do you think that and that's distributed from the center?
Yeah.
As we all know. Do you think it gets as much as it needs?
No, not definitely, but the grant we get because of the Article 275 definitely has helped the people here. So it has helped the people, especially the tribal and the local people, in their development efforts.
Could that be improved at all?
Yeah, we are demanding more fund from it. So there are two things. One is if we receive more fund, especially the untied fund, that will help the people. And secondly, if the efficiency in utilization of the fund, because of the efficiency in the utilization of fund, definitely the people here will be benefited.
So now let's talk about that. Let's get into that. How can the utility and the efficiency of the fund improve? What are the big challenges there?
Empowering the people, the Gram Sabha and the Gram Panchayat definitely will improve the efficiency and the utilization of the fund.
So on 3D, we are the Development Design Digest. We are all about celebrating a design approach to solving problems. And a lot of people, like yourself probably, have been using a design approach for a few decades without actually calling it a design approach. But it is that whole of society look, right? Where you say, let's not just fix this one thing called education or health or livelihoods. Let's look at how they're all interconnected. Do you think that that's happening in rural India, in Jharkhand? Do you think there's too much sort of siloed thinking and working? Do we need to go further when it comes to a design approach?
No, I think that some effort is required for a consolidated approach rather than the silos in which the works have been done here. So that can be done both at the government level as well as at the local level. So that will definitely improve the livelihood situation of here and the lives of the people here.
Break that down for me. Give me an example. Let's talk some real terms.
I have to think for that.
I did want you to think of some examples.
For example, the education and the issues like education, health, livelihood, and livelihood including employment, income generation. These are interrelated. So because of the health problem, if the children they become absent in school, their education gets affected. Similarly, because of low education, people fail to take opportunity, the education and the livelihood opportunities. So the two are interconnected. So if all of them are, I mean, if there is a design that all these things are taken together, so that will definitely improve.
So the question is, does that happen? Because often you have the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, and everybody has these departments. Are they good at talking to each other and coordinating, or does more need to be done?
No, there is some coordination issue. But if most of the activities they are taken at the panchayat level, so this coordination can take place there. So definitely there is a coordination issue among the line departments. So some coordination is required at that level, and that can happen at the higher up levels.
So you've mentioned the panchayat level several times now, and I want to focus on that for a bit. The way a lot of development is set up and the way a lot of the government is set up is obviously about trying to empower people at the local level and empower panchayats. And there's all sorts of different acts and bringing capital and more services and more efficiency. Do you think it's working?
Yeah, it is working. It has improved the proximity. Actually, panchayats, what they do, they have established two types of proximity between the community and those who are delivering the services. One is the geographical proximity. Earlier, the people, they have to go to the block and the district offices to get services and benefit. Now they visit the panchayats, which is very close to their house, their locality. So this is the geographical proximity. Other is the social proximity, the people who are the sarpanch or the gram pradhan. They are from the same community, same society, so they are very comfortable dealing with them, getting their issues, their problems resolved by them. So that has improved definitely the services they are getting and the benefits they are getting.
I believe though a lot of tribal people will have their own traditional ways of governing and their own customs. How does that link in with the way that the government might want to govern?
Yeah, the tribals, they have their own system and of governance, especially the Gram Sabha and the Gram Pradhan, the traditional Gram Pradhan. But these institutions, they have been recognized by PESA rules, though the PESA is still in draft form in this state. But when it will be finalized, definitely these institutions will start functioning properly and delivering services to the people.
Let's go on to that. Give me a little bit about PESA. How do you think it's? Do you think rural people, whether it's PESA or the Panchayati Act provisions, do you think that the local stakeholders are leveraging that enough?
Not enough, I can say at current, but definitely in course of time they'll be able to do it and take advantage out of it.
Give me some examples.
It recognizes the Gram Pradhans, the Gram Sabha, etc. And Gram Sabha, if Gram Sabha happens regularly, in some of the districts it takes place regularly, at least once a week, where the people, including the women, they raise their voice and their issues, and these issues are resolved, including both the civil and the criminal issues. The Gram Kachahari, etc., they are functioning in some of the places where many of the issues and the problems, they are resolved. So definitely in some of the districts, it's functioning properly, where the traditions are very strong, and the other places slowly it will be implemented in the whole of the 5th schedule area, which covers the major part of the state.
I'm glad you mentioned women. Huge part of the development story.
Yeah.
Is enough being done in Jharkhand to try and empower them and make sure that they actually have a seat at the table and not just a ceremonial position, but real action?
No, a lot has to be done. I won't say that there is a perfect gender equality here, but slowly you'll find out that this gender disparity is decreasing in all the areas. For example, gender disparity in education has decreased. In health is still, it's a problem. The wage difference exists. I won't say that it doesn't exist. And they are facing the other issues also. But slowly, I think through education, through proactive efforts of the administration and the government and the community, slowly gender disparity will be achieved.
The wage disparity exists everywhere, not just
wage disparity exists, yeah. I won't.
We have a long way to go before that is equaled. And what would you say over your 30 years of working? I want to focus now a little bit on you. What has been the high point for you? I want to talk about challenges too, but let's start positive. In your 30 years, what have you worked on that has had the most impact?
Actually, I worked on, I can say, the 4 issues, 4 types of function I have performed so far. One was the teaching, where I could motivate some of the students or my students. My effort there as a teacher was to create a love for knowledge among them. To some extent, I won't say, but to some extent I succeeded in it. Some of my students, they are doing very well, and those who are not doing very well, still they could improve their performance. So that was my first part. The second was research, through which I could create some knowledge, especially the local knowledge, and I can enrich my students in research also, and it definitely improved my teaching as well as my knowledge issues could be resolved. So that was my second one. The third was I was part of the Center for Fiscal Studies here, where I supported the government in formation of public finance related issues. I'm preparing the economic survey of the state for last many years, which is the basis for preparation of budget. I usually participate in the pre-budget conference of the state and give some input there. So that is the second part of the third part of it. And the fourth, I have started functioning as a member State Finance Commission. This is the fifth State Finance Commission, and the four finance commissions could not submit a proper report. So we are facing some problem in terms of legacy. We do not have archival materials, the documents, etc. But we have started functioning properly. We have started collecting the documents, meeting people, doing some field work. So we have collected some information, and we'll be able to give a report in record time to the state, which will become a basis for transfer of fund to the local self-government, to the panchayats and the municipal organizations.
And I want to talk about that because this is now your new post, working on the fifth report. And as you say, the state hadn't been able to file before. Why was that?
There were a few problems earlier. Actually, the state suffered from political instability in its initial years. So those were the teething issues, I can say, of a new state. And there were some organizational problems. Because of that, the earlier Finance Commission could not submit its report. For example, the first Finance Commission submitted a report which was only for the urban areas, the urban local bodies. The other three Finance Commission could not submit its report because was not properly formulated, or there were other issues also, or the chairman or the member resigned premature way. So this is the fifth one.
A lot of expectations now.
And we have expectation on ourselves also. So we have decided and we are committed that we will give the report in record time.
You're going to do it in record time. When's it due?
By September or October next year.
Okay, so you have a little bit of time.
Yeah. But we are planning to give an interim report by April next year.
Okay, very good. We'll check in with you. Now, looking ahead, which sectors do you think in Jharkhand could drive transformative growth? Like I say, this feels like one of India's big secrets. It's a lot of untapped potential because there have been obstacles and problems. But where do you see that growth happening?
The first sector I think must be picked up is agriculture, because a large percentage of population is engaged in agriculture and they are deriving their livelihood from it, partially at least. So that is the first sector I think must be developed. We still have a monocropped agriculture, and there are problem of drought, etc. in the state. So that agriculture must be stabilized and agriculture must be improved. The intensity of cultivation should be improved, so that will improve the livelihood and the livelihood situation of the people, a large number of people. So that is the first one. The second, I think, the agro processing, etc., or the rural industrialization, I'll say. The rural industrialization will improve, will supplement the income of the people in the rural areas. And since industry has a better prospect for improving income, so that will supplement the income of the people. So rural industrialization, I think, should be taken up. The third issue I think should be taken up is migration. A large number of people here migrate because of the monocropping and absence of sufficient livelihood opportunity in the state. A large number of people migrate from here, and migrations to some extent has improved improves the economic status of economic condition of many of the people. So I say that the just and fair migration, informed migration, may help many of the people, because we cannot stop it immediately. Sufficient employment opportunity should be created, because of which to some extent migration may be reduced. But given the wage disparity throughout the country and the skill of some of the people here, for example, they can work in border road construction, etc. There are a large number of people who have the capacity or capability to work on hilly areas, border road construction, etc. So they can earn well from there. But the migration, one, it should be well informed. They should be properly protected, otherwise they'll get exploited by the employers, and it should be fair and economically viable for them also, so that they can earn well. So well protected, fair migration may help people.
So the idea is to try and keep people here by developing prosperity on the land or in jobs that come up.
Yeah.
Are there industries that are coming up in peri-urban areas where people might migrate but not drastically miles and miles away, but can just commute into work? Are those happening?
Yeah, it's happening, but still more efforts are required.
Like?
More efforts means infrastructure development, development of the institutions here are very important. I say that education, especially higher education and medical institutions. A large number of students, they migrate from this state to the other state for higher education. If the higher education system is improved, both in terms of access as well as quality. Quality is very important. These students, not only these students will remain here, and if they study here for further employment opportunities, they'll explore Jharkhand only. Otherwise, once they migrate for studies in other places, they usually remain there and they do not come back. So there is a brain drain in that sense. So one, I think the educational institutions should be strengthened, especially the higher education here in terms of quality as well as expansion, access, etc. And the other is the medical institution, especially in the government public medical institution, because a large number of patients, they migrate to the other places, not from Jharkhand only, but from the neighboring states also. For many of the patients, they migrate to, they go to Bangalore or Manipal or Bombay and Delhi for better health care. And it has increased their out-of-pocket expenditure for medical care. So if such institutions are developed here, these patients will get benefit locally. That will reduce their out-of-pocket expenditure. On the other hand, because many of the patients from the neighboring state also, they visit those places which are few medical hubs in the country. So they'll also start coming to Jharkhand, which is very close to them. And if such facilities are developed, so it will also generate economic activities here, many types of economic activities and benefit.
Well, and it would be a win-win. So it sounds like this is a really good pitch for people looking to develop hospitals, high schools, colleges, universities. There's ripe for the picking, fertile ground here. Investors come to Jharkhand, right? Is the government working on that, trying to bring in those investors?
Yeah, some of the private universities are coming here, good private universities. Good private medical institutions are coming here, but the public institutions must also be strengthened.
Okay, well, that's down to the government then. Lastly, I would like to have a two-part question. There's a lot of talk these days about the mismatch between what urban people think are the aspirations of rural people and what they really are. So I'd like to get your take on what the aspirations of rural people, particularly perhaps tribal people here in Jharkhand are, and what is your vision, your aspiration for the locality development India 2047?
For the rural people, I think that medical institution must be developed in a poor state in many of the rural areas, especially in this state. So if the medical institutions or health institutions, they are developed in rural areas, it will reduce out-of-pocket expenditure of the people, it will improve the health situation. So if it improves the health situation, it will improve their capability also, their income earning capacity. So it will improve their livelihood, their income, their economic status. Uh, so this is one. The other is, I told you, the educational institution, and the improvement in these two institutions, the educational as well as health institution, is not only the coverage but the quality also. Huh.
Education.
Education institutions, if they are developed, the rural people, they'll get better education, so they'll be able to compete with the other people who are living in urban areas, or those who are better off and who could afford better education. So they'll be able to compete with them, and that will improve their capability, and definitely they'll be able to avail the opportunities which are coming up because of the development. Because development has come with inequality also, both the geographical as well as interpersonal inequality or inter-community inequality. So that must be taken care of, otherwise will be alarming.
Well, as somebody who is privy to the spreadsheets and the State Finance Commission, will there be money allocated for these things?
Yeah, definitely we are thinking of it, because we haven't finalized our report. We won't be able to tell you much, but we are thinking of increasing the devolution, the state devolution to the panchayats and the urban local bodies, and giving them grant for many of these activities.
Well, wonderful.
But we are only a recommending body. Finally, it depends on the state how far they accept our recommendations.
And how willing and interested the local people are, but they have to be brought on board.
Yeah, they have their expectation. We haven't met many, but we have visited some of the areas. We have talked with some of the local people, so they have their expectation from us, and we too have expectation from ourselves that we'll be able to deliver something for the local people here.
So by 2047, what do you think? What's Jharkhand
By
gonna look like?
47, Jharkhand will be able to resolve most of its problem and will be one of the most developed states of the country.
Wow, okay. Big words. Let's see. I hope so.
Okay,
Mr. Dayal,
thank
thank you
you.
so much. It's
Thank
been a real
you.
pleasure.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. Please share this and stay tuned for more 3D.